What is happening, everybody, man? Thank you guys tuning into another episode of Export Mentors Live, episode 299. And we are in for a treat today. We got the one and only Mr. Kevin Kauffman in the house. What's happening, brother?
Doing great, man. How are you?
Doing good, man. Good to see you. Good to have you back on. I know it's been a while, but jumping back in, and I'm really excited to dive into today's topic as the trend that we continue to see, and I don't think it's going to slow down. I think it's going to continue to still be the direction and the trend we're going, and teams are just going to keep getting bigger, and especially the teams with the right leadership are going to keep getting bigger. And so being able to dive in with you and unpack everything that you guys have been able to accomplish, and from team dynamics, team structure, leadership, all the things required to really navigate the terrain and, this interesting time that we're in here in 25 and into 26. It's going to be an interesting ride. That's for sure.
No doubt about that.
So cool. So Kev, I'll let you kind of, where we want to jump in here around the conversation on teams and, what scaling looks like, what it means, what it's going to take, to navigate the terrain and navigate the future.
Yeah. I love talking about this for a lot of reasons. First of all, it's just kind of where, I found my sweet spot in the industry, and in my business was when we decided to scale our team and truly treat it it's a business, right? As opposed to a sales job. And I've been able to talk to so many other team leaders, would-be team leaders, former team leaders, etc., over the last 18 years. And I've seen what works, I've seen what doesn't work. And the biggest thing is I see so many people who they have a team only because they feel like they're supposed to, like that's their next step, even though it may or may not be. I also see other people who choose to sort of like stay small because they're afraid of what they think a team is. And what I believe is like, it's not for everybody. It really isn't. Not everybody is designed. I mean, I don't want to say designed. Not everybody should be a team leader because it's not that people are designed for it. It's a skill that you learn. It's actually a set of skills that you learn, and it can be learned. But there's just some requirements if you want it to be able to last. The solo agent version of that would be like, you look at somebody who say got licensed, and this is not to poke fun at anybody directly. Like let's say they get in at a time like 2020, 2021, where things were it was a lot more simple to gain a client. It was hard to put deals together, but it was very simple to gain a client. And then you get to like the last 24 months that we've had, and it's like the opposite. Like it's a lot harder to get a client who's ready, willing, and able to buy, and a lot easier to put deals together. And so the skills change, but the thing it's a very similar path with teams. Like sometimes when things are good, maybe you have a Zillow account or an REO account, if you're old like me, and things like that, where it's like there's certain times where it feels easier, this entry point. But no matter what the market's doing, it all comes down to like, do you have this base and do you have a set of skills that you're growing to be a team leader? And so I've just been reflecting on this a lot. My business partner and I have had a team now since 2008. We've had varying degrees of success. And yet we've continued to be able to sell real estate at a pretty high level for a long time, and including a good 5-year stretch where we were, I don't want to say not involved, but maybe an hour or two a week from our involvement because of some of the stuff we put in place. And then when we decided to just recently this year, we decided to get back more involved and kind of do a little more of the driving. And it's just been it's a lot of fun re-engaging, and it's reminded me of the things that are just so necessary for being a team leader, a team owner. And so I'm happy to share any of those sort of lessons and thoughts with you guys, and obviously anywhere else that you think we should go with this, John, you just say the
Yeah,
word.
no, I love it. And I would love for you to, kind of share what you feel has been kind of the secret sauce to the longevity. And obviously, getting into the game in '08, right? For those of us that got to ride through the 7, 8, 9 time frame. I mean, like if you can cut your teeth during that time frame and build the discipline and the skill set, like you can pretty much navigate any type of market conditions. So, setting the stage for you guys early on. But for you and Fred, I mean, what would you say is like, man, been the secret to the longevity of being able to keep the ship, moving, as well as maintaining a partnership for that long as well? I think there's definitely some lessons there as well.
Yeah. If I had to boil it down to like one quote unquote secret for the team thing, it's people. It's being in the business with the right people. And that is, by the way, that's one thing I see people constantly, team leaders struggle with when they don't take the time to learn the skill of finding people, how to hire people, keep great, how to identify truly talented, great people. And that's the thing that will just continue to sabotage them and haunt them in their business. So if I had to boil it down to one secret, it's that it's nailing the people part correctly. When it comes to the partnership side, man, we've done a lot of right things, but there's also just been a lot of luck involved. Part of that luck is, I think, similar. That's the word I'm looking for. Similar timelines, like in our personal and business like slash and family journeys, like they've been relatively close. Like my kids are just a couple years older than Fred's son. We happen to both get, I think I got married to my wife, and he got married to his wife within a few months of each other. So like we've been on these kind of very similar paths, if you will, in our life, which I think has kept it easier for us to stay in sync business partnership wise. Because we've just been at different stages at similar times.
Yeah, no, I love that. When you're talking about, finding the right people, what is it for you, kind of the criteria? What are you looking for, in good people, good fit people?
Well, so I think first of all, it's not necessarily just what I'm looking for. Like I'm looking for people that move fast, that want to grow, that have a track record of winning. I'm looking for probably not a lot of different things than most people are looking for when they think about it. The difference is I have a process for it. And I was actually sharing this with somebody yesterday that I showed up to a class on hiring in 2009, and I walked in the room, and on the board was written the words, "Recruiting is a process, not an event." I was like, I got my money's worth right there. Like
Yeah.
now, I sat in the classroom for the next 2 days, but I already had my money's worth. And having a process where you go through and not just go through the motions of interviewing and doing the whole thing, but like you're actually asking yourself questions and causing yourself to think critically and truthfully, like looking for reasons to eliminate somebody as a candidate and
Mm.
truly looking for them as a candidate. One of my early mentors said it to me this way. He said, "You're recruiting people to a process, and then once they're in the process, you're looking for reasons to not hire them."
Yes. Yeah, I love that. And, I mean, obviously, your system, your methodology, whatever for customer acquisition, but I really truly believe like the number one process in your business is the hiring process. And you got to have that defiltering. We had a really good one, like really, really good process. There was a couple things that I just with it, but it did the job, right? It did the
Yeah.
deselection. But man, I tell you, Jeff, was it Randy Street and Jeffrey Smart,
Jeffrey Smart, Randy Street, the book
who,
Who. It's amazing.
God dang, that process. That's the process. And I mean, still use that process to this day. And it is fire. It is
It,
absolutely fire.
it really is. That book is timeless. If you don't have a context for that, and and you're in a position where you're hiring and leading people, like that's a must read. That's not like a should read. That's a must read, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've shared the Cliff Note version of that, the PDF. There's like 7 or 8 pages to the PDF. I've probably shared that 100 times at least to other people, and it's just like, guys, you got to get this implemented. Here you go, just follow this. And it's in the big thing that they talk about in there, and I think this is a little freeing when we're talking about hiring, is like, listen, it's not an all in 100% some game. I mean, like, it's probabilities, and what you're trying to do is just increase the probabilities. And they're like, even the best hiring process is only still going to be 85 to 90% accurate. And so there is that little error. And for me early on, it was like, we beat ourselves up on missing something in the process. What did we miss? And, kind of going through that book, it was a little freeing to be like, okay, don't be so dang hard on yourself, right? There is still going to be a little bit of an error because you're dealing with human beings, and, you get a certain characteristic of an individual, but you spend more time with them, you get down to really who they are and if they're authentic and genuine to what they said.
And it's a nuanced thing, because that side, the point you just made, is so accurate. And then also, I believe in asking yourself honestly, what's the red flag that I ignored during the process?
Mm.
And if you actually have a process and you've been taking notes as you go, like, you could go back and identify it if you're being honest.
Yeah.
Like, so often. And yeah, there's a certain percentage of the time, like, all you're really trying to do is you're trying to tip the odds in your favor. And that's great. And also, what happens most times for most people is they just chose to ignore a red flag because they like the person, or they were in really dire need of the help. So it is. And man, knowing the difference between the two is like, that's an art, and that comes with practice. It's kind of like, when I'm talking to some of my friends, especially when I know that they have it in them to be a leader of people, I'll ask that, but they're afraid to, because they think hiring is this big deal and it's so hard, and it is. But I'll ask them, like, hey, if you were mentoring a brand new agent, somebody got their license today, how many transactions would you think they need to do in order to truly become like an expert, like really know what they're doing? And the answers I get are usually somewhere between 50 and 100. My answer is 100. Like, if you haven't done 100 deals, that's great. You still don't know what you're doing, in my opinion. Yeah. You might think you do, but you definitely don't. And yet, whether their number is 50 or 100 or bigger, I'll then follow it up with, great, how many people have you ever interviewed? And then the next question is, how many people have you hired? Cool. How many of those did you train, and then they actually stayed with you for call it more than a year? And then those numbers are always so much lower than the number of deals that they've done.
Yeah.
And it's like, of course you're not an expert at this yet. You actually you don't have enough reps. Like, you truly don't. And most people won't get enough reps of interviewing. Now, granted, you're probably not going to hire 100 plus people, but it's not hard to interview 100 plus people. Like, that's really easy. If you're committed to it and you give yourself a time frame and you're actually building a business, interviewing 100 people, not really that hard.
Dude, that's such a great point, right? It's the time on task, it's just reps, and you just do the math on 100 transactions. We did a little stopwatch test back in Lawton, and we were just really just because Lawton obviously ended up being for us was really the foundation for what KR coaching and NAEA really became, everything that we were doing out of there. And so we were just really put the stopwatch to the listing side and the stopwatch to the buy side, especially for you as the team lead running the transactions. And I mean, almost like 22 hours on the buy side for us, and a couple hours on the listing side. And it was just like, that was the aha. And that's why we've always been like, what are you doing? Like 100%. You wake up, you go to bed, all you're thinking about is listings, motivated opportunities. Where is the opportunity in today's market? And, you get into that, but think about 100 transactions. How many hours? Let's just split it right down the middle, right? Like, you need time, you need those reps to be able to really work through that, to really know. And I mean, how many of those 100 transactions were identical? None, right? Every situation, every little thing, every little nuance. We were just talking just right before the call, in with Matt, and he's like, a sewer line pops, the morning of closing. Like, what do? You can't train on that. That's an experience thing that you got to navigate through. You got to jump in and figure it out. And so, to your point, I would agree. Yeah, you get closer to that 100 mark. Okay, yeah, you definitely got some experience under your belt to be able to navigate, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
So, Kev, take us back a little bit. You hit on, a couple times. You talked about the skills to develop into an agent out there that can crank 100 transactions to an agent that can now become, out of that sales job, into really becoming a head of company, being that leader that's required to navigate, for you guys navigating 18-20 years in this game. Like, what are some of the skills that are like must focus on to develop to really navigate into that head of company leadership role?
I've always struggled with the word leadership. I don't like it. And that's not to say it's not important. It is important, but I think so many of us will use, like, we'll be like, I'm developing my leadership by like reading a book on leadership. And I think that what most people really mean, like, that's code for, I'm looking for ways to manipulate the people that I work with to get them to do what I want them to do. And I believe that true leadership starts with like discovering more about yourself and who you are. Because when you do that, it's a lot easier to quote unquote lead other people around you when you're aware of your own behavior and natural tendencies. So first and foremost is just like becoming, you know, someone who's completely obsessed with finding out who they are, like who they are truly as a person. And, I've heard it said like this, like entrepreneurship just exposes you, right? It reveals every crack in your psychology. It reveals all the cracks in where you're lacking discipline or drive or responsibility. And I believe if you're doing things correctly, the business forces personal growth, whether you're ready or not. And if you want to be able to grow, you want to be able to lead people, like you've got to be ready to grow, and you've got to put in the time and the effort into growing yourself as a person if you're going to be able to lead other people.
100%, right? You look at kind of the requirements, right, in that role, and you nailed it, right? I mean, nobody's gonna get on board, nobody's gonna hang around you if you're not really proactively trying to become the best version of you. And I loved what you said, knowing you, right? Knowing those strengths, knowing those weaknesses, taking every dang assessment there is that you possibly can get your hands on, right? Run through the disc, run through the working genius, run through colors, run through Enneagram, run through them all, right? The more insight that you can get, plus having really good people around you that are not afraid to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear, I think is part of that learning and growth process as well.
Yeah, it's something you just said there about telling you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Like, real leaders are willing to risk relationships in order to speak the truth and have standards.
Mm.
Um, and by the way, that means like with ourselves, like we've got to be direct, we got to be firm, we have to expect results. And if we're not doing that, both of ourselves and those that we're leading, like you're just slowly dying at best. Like that's best case scenario. If you're not taking the risk and you're not speaking the truth.
Yeah. And you said the standard there, right? And, how have you gone about really defining and creating the standards in your life and the standards that you hold others to?
Yeah, and you know what's the thing is, like, I think that evolves over the years, right? What's important to you, whether we're talking about like a standard for activity on the team, like what you just have to do every day. Um, but regardless of what that standard is, it's just I think it's just a matter of like honoring it. The thing is, and by the way, like we've done this. There's been times over the years like where it's like it's more of like, well, we hope that we're doing this. We hope that you are showing up every day, let's say making $150. I'm making that number up. But like we hope you're making $150 a day. There's a difference in like, hey, this is what we want you to do. And no, this is what you do to stay on the team. Like there's no, this is how we stay on the team is we meet this standard. And so a lot of people say, I have a standard of, and what's weird, this is always a big red flag, is it has to do with like closings, the one thing you can't actually control. And they'll say, and it's like, so everybody on your team closes 24 deals or more a year. Well, I'm like, okay, so it's not actually a standard, like it's a desired standard maybe
Mhm.
for you. You would hope that one day, but that's not a standard. A standard is there's like if you don't meet it, like we're having a conversation. If you don't meet it again, we're having a different conversation about you going somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's a standard. Just being honest with yourself about what's a standard and what's like a desired standard and truly being honest, like to me, that's a big step in the right direction.
It is, and like you said, that aspirational standard, and we made the mistake too, right? Like, you got to be hitting production requirements, and to me, I think it is. I think it's a maturity thing. It's an experience thing, and where I lean a little bit more these days on the standard. I mean, obviously, there needs to be an exchange of the value I'm providing. There has to be a return, so we do need closed transactions, but I need you more committed to the things within your control. So I need you to focus on the macros, right? So let's establish your proteins, your carbs, your fats. Let's establish, the conversations, the appointments, the business, and let's go all in on those standards because the closings will come depending upon the season, the seasonality, the market conditions, a lot of variables out of our control. And I love that. We made the same mistake, man. That's why I was just smiling. I was like, yeah, we did that. Yeah, we did that. So I'm with you. I think it does come with a little bit of experience and maturity.
And I think that, um, by the way, you said something too. I think it's really important about like we have to be delivering what we said we would. Uh, you actually, and I'm I believe that if you have a true standard, and you live by that and you hold people to that, um, that alone can oftentimes be enough because we know that it will get them to the success that they're looking for. In which case, almost nothing else that they're worried about matters because we all know that like enough closings, enough deals, like makes most problems go away somehow magically. Right. And so, like, I've got a buddy, the standard on his team is like, you have 20 real estate conversations a day. That's the standard. 20 conversations a day. And it's like if you're over, I think it's 5 or more pending or 4 or more pending, you can have 10. But if you're once you're under 4 pending, you're back to 20 a day.
Mm.
And that's the standard. And legitimately just holding that standard delivers so much value to team members that almost all of the rest is irrelevant. That's not to say you shouldn't be running an amazing business and provide a ton of value to your people. You should. But helping somebody get their actions in alignment with what they said they wanted, and then holding them to that is actually more than enough for like 95% of all people we're going to end up working with.
Yeah. And you go back to, what people will pay for, right? And what we're talking about is just a form of accountability. And people pay for accountability. I mean, that's why a lot of us get coaches, right? We have coaches to hold us accountable. We know what to do, but we need that extra little, carrot and stick and somebody just calling us out. And I love that as part of the value exchange. But when you look at, in your mind, what makes a great team member? Obviously the things that you said, looking for, hey, growth minded, core value fit, those type of individuals. But what have you seen, for you and Fred and the team, that people that stay, right? People that really stick. Like what's a good, fair relationship in the value exchange of what you provide and then what they also bring to the table, that really, where they don't want to go anywhere else. They love being a part of, the company that they're in and the team they're on.
As long as they see you as a vehicle to getting what they want, that can be enough in and of itself. But they actually have to see you as that. They have to, which means, by the way, you need to be a couple steps ahead, which means you better be doing your job too. Like, you've got to deliver value to them, whatever that value is, and help them get what it is that they say that they want. That alone can keep you in business with somebody for 5-10 years easily. There's no doubt about it. And then the balance in that, I think, is there's relationships that get built along that path. So many of us in real estate tend to go one way or the other. One of the ways I see a lot of folks go to is like, oh, we're a family. Like, that's cute. We're in business first. We're in business first, and we're going to take care of the business first. And if we do, then what happens over time is we start to feel more like a family, starts to feel more like family members. But make no mistake, like, the business stuff has to happen first if we're going to have that longevity there in our partnership. So that's got to happen for sure. And as long as they see you as delivering on your end of the bargain, whatever your promises to them may be, then you've got a recipe for a long-term successful relationship. And they obviously also have to be doing their side of it. If either side is not doing it, it's only going to last so long.
Yeah, dude, that's such a great point. When we came over in 2017, shut down the brokerage. I mean, we had our vision. We were trucking along, right? And partnering with agents, MSAs, and throughout DFW, just had our first regional partner in Atlanta. And, thank you, Al Stasic, for, having what does Chep call it? He had an early Christmas in July, right? Lost his top two agents and lost about half a million in GCI right out the door. And so he was staring down the barrel of having to get back into production. And so that's when, was receptive. Watched the, Uncle Cliffy got him with the, tell me what I'm missing. And, really looked at it. But we jumped on the phone with Gove and ended up getting out to Fort Lauderdale for EXPCon 2017. And there were 400 people there, and there were celebrated 4,000 agents. And Gove set the day for us. We had breakfast with Vicky Bartholomew, who was president at the time. We had happy hour with the GOAT, Mr. Gene Frederick himself. And then lunch was right out of a mafia movie. We were in the back downstairs at the hotel there in Fort Lauderdale. And there were about 20, 25 people around the table. And Kinder and I were sitting directly across from Glenn and Jason. And we got to listen to Glenn tell the vision of EXP, kind of where we're at, where we're going, what we're going to accomplish. This is kind of our thinking. This is kind of what's going on. This is what we're doing. And, just incredible. I've always been a big vision guy, right? Without a vision, the village will perish. And so, got up to Kinder. I was like, hey man, I was in, but I'm way in. Fast forward to shareholders in Orlando in 2018, sitting in the audience, and I'm on one side of the auditorium and Kinder's on the other. And I'm texting them as Glenn's giving a debrief of everything that's happened and everything that they've accomplished, everything that they've done. And I was like, this mofo is executing faster than I've ever seen anybody ever execute. He is doing exactly what he told us he's going to do. That proof. And it was one of the things that always stood like, okay, right? You said you were going to do this, and you did this, and you did it as fast as you did it. Okay, right? That to me is, to your point, exactly what you were talking about. That's what your people want to see. They want to see that, whatever shot you're calling, and you call it and you go make it happen. I think that's like, what, to your point, that's where the belief comes in, and then that's where they'll ride with you for a long time.
For sure.
Yeah. So, Kev, what is looking at kind of that other evolution, and how do you guys keep pushing the envelope, keep creating, keep looking to add more value back to people? Obviously something had to pull you and Fred back in to get re-engaged. I mean, what was it to get, sucked back in, more hands-on, more day-to-day? That's been really exciting for you guys as we navigate here in 25 and into 26.
I think for me, I'll speak for myself. It just was it was a matter of like, I wasn't happy with the results and the trajectory of it. And so I'm just at a point where it's like, well, we're going to do this. Like, I want to do this better than we're currently doing it. It was just a matter of like, I guess almost pride in my work. Like if I'm going to do something or have something, I want it to be at a certain level, of all in air quotes, success, right? I wanted to produce a certain amount of money. I wanted to be able to impact people in a certain amount of way. I look at the team as like, yeah, it's a business that we own, and there are really people in it who like, it's their job. It's maybe their primary or only source of income. And there's a responsibility in that. That I think about. And so it's just this desire to want to be better, and I want more for the people around us as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is a little bit of a pride thing, right? Especially, the blood, sweat, and tears that that went into getting this off the ground, and it is kind of the standard that you want to hold things to. Yeah, it is. I get exactly what you're saying. I mean, we we've had some throwdowns, and it's just because it's passion, right? And it's really like, you take that real ownership of what you've built. And I think it's, a critical component to have that energy and that passion, because to me, that's an indication that you really care about what you're trying to accomplish, and what you've built.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what are you guys excited about? I mean, obviously you got the crystal ball, navigating things into, 25 into 26, but more importantly, I mean, what are you excited about as we're heading in here to the home stretch of the year?
Well, I mean, first of all, my crystal ball broke a long time ago. Like I dropped the first time I picked it up, it fell on the ground and cracked. And so I'm excited. I mean, I'm just all like, I'm always excited about moving forward. Like I mentioned it earlier when we first started talking about what you look for in people, is like people that want to grow. Like I'm always excited about like just getting a little bit better. I don't know what happened to me, but at some point 5, 6 years ago, I know the day. I remember the day it happened. It was like November of 2019. I just was kind of like, my relationship with goals changed. And I don't have this like, hey, I want to sell X amount of homes or make X amount of dollars. But I do want to get better every day. And I want to have something to work towards. And so what I'm excited about is getting better every day. Personally, there's a few ways I can measure that, right? Within the real estate team, that could be like the number of sales we have, the number of agents we have, the number of agents we have hitting their goals. I always think about like that. When I think more strategically, I think of like the last couple years has been a challenge for a lot of people. And for those of us that are doing what we're supposed to do every day, like at a certain point, things will loosen up and the tide will raise everyone up, right?
Mhm.
I just happen to believe the stronger your foundation is and the more work you're putting in, and in times when it's a little more of a challenge, the higher your boat goes on top of that tide, kind of giving you um, an even bigger lift, say, than your quote unquote competition. And so I guess I'm excited about that because I know that we've been putting in the work. I know that a lot of the, we finally have started hiring newer agents to our team. There's a long period of time where we really didn't. We purposefully did not hire new people, and I don't just mean new people. I mean additional people. And so helping some of these newer folks like literally get their businesses launched and growing. So long, obviously getting some people launched, getting some people who have already launched and selling more stable, getting some of the folks that are stable into their growth and to what their next level is. And I mean, it's why my podcast is called Next Level Agents, and why my Facebook group is called Next Level Agents. It's because it's just about whatever that individual's next level is. Like, I don't care if you want to sell, you sold 10 homes this year and you want to go to 20, or if you're at 50 and you want to go to 100. I don't care. I care about there's something more that you're trying to get out of yourself. That's the key thing. That's what I'm both looking for in people I surround myself with, and the thing that actually keeps me excited day to day.
Yeah, I love that. And you're so spot on, right? Because there's always another level. It doesn't matter what level you get to, there's always another level. And it's just the continuous, commitment to pushing yourself, like you said earlier, just continuing to become the best version of you.
Yeah.
Um, it's so good. So what happened November of 19 to have that moment to make that shift?
I just remember Fred and I were in Austin hanging out with our buddy Nolly Williams, who's also a honey badger. And we were just kind of talking about business that day and recruiting goals. And I don't know, there was just something about the conversation where I was like, I couldn't get myself to want to write down a goal, whether we're talking about building our rev share business, building our real estate team, anything else. It was just like the only thing I could mentally connect to was growth.
Mm.
I want growth, but I was like, and I mean this, if we sell 250 homes next year or 2,500 homes, like it makes no difference to me. The part that matters is, did the people around us grow, and did we grow as a byproduct of that? Or maybe it's the other way around. But either way, it was just about the growth. It wasn't about like, I got to hit this certain number or else. Whereas most of my career, we were always chasing that next milestone. It was like 100 transactions, 200 transactions, 300 transactions, 400, 500 transactions. Could we get to it? Like, there was a time where I cared. Could we get to say like 1,000 transactions in a year? I don't give a rip. Like we might. I don't, I don't know. We haven't done it yet. Maybe if we did, I'd feel differently about it. But like, I know when we got to say like 500, it didn't feel any better than 400 transactions. I could tell you that.
Nope. Maybe a little more stressful.
Literally felt the same. And so I just came to a point where I was like, this isn't the way for me. This isn't going to be how I continue to get more out of myself by having these arbitrary numbers out there that I'm not really connected to.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's you definitely hit a different level. I think early on, and over 20 years with Kinder, and looking back, and if I could coach us, two knucklehead 27, 28-year-old knuckleheads, I wish I could have learned that lesson a lot sooner, right? Because that's a status chase, right? And chasing status, and there's always another level. That's why I love your whole mindset and focused on growth. That's my number one value, right? Personally and professionally, growth every day. And people have to be striving to be better each and every day. And it's the one, like, exit interview. I've got one question on the exit interview, and it's, do you believe that you're a better human being today than the day that you started with us? And that's the number one question I've asked everybody that's ever transitioned off the team, had to, move into another career, go somewhere else, do something else. And, my passion, like 10 times out of 10, every time, right? Yes, absolutely. I'm a better human being. And to me, that was the most important, that they were growing and they were becoming a better person. And so I really resonate with that. I love that a lot. That's so powerful, and really ties back to the whole theme of the conversation right from jump. And it's just about people, man. You want to build a team, like you said, that actually can grow and scale and really make a difference. It's all about people.
Yeah, dude, it all comes down to people. Like it really, because here's the deal, man. I interviewed a lady yesterday who early in her career personally had done 300 transactions as a solo agent with just administrative help. I was like, holy shit. Like that's so far above my level, right? I got tired at 12. So, I don't know how you, and I don't mean 12 a month. I meant 12. And so, but she sells way more than that today. Like way more. Like her team is doing significantly more transactions a year now. So even when you're a super high performer like her, the difference in say 300 transactions a year, and I'm going to call it 1,500 transactions a year as an example in her case, is people. It's always people. It's yes, it's more salespeople. Like you and I both know John Cheplack very well, and one of his favorite sayings is "the people move the money," and that's true, absolutely. But also, it's the other people in your world, the administrative staff, or on the operational side of your business, or maybe like in my case now, like we're partnered with Place, and have been for a couple of years. The people that we're in business with, it's always the people that make the difference. Like if you want to grow, there's only so much you can personally do. The rest is going to come through people. And yeah, you might be able to get away with like spinning plates and not really leading people, and learning how to spin plates faster. But the reality is if you want to be able to grow something big and long-term that impacts a lot of people, it's going to require more people, and they're going to have to be really damn good at what they do. And if they're really damn good at what they do, you better be really good at what you do. Otherwise, they're not going to hang out with you for long.
Not very long. That's so good. Kevin, absolutely amazing, brother. I appreciate you carving out the time, jumping in here and really being a part of what this whole expert mentor series has been about. It's just individuals like yourself that just pour back into one of the best communities in the entire industry, the Honey Badger Nation. And can't thank you enough, man, for being who you are and pouring into us, pouring into me, and appreciate you a ton.
I love it, man. It's my pleasure. Like the Honey Badger world, like EXP in general, all of it like completely changed my life for in all good ways. It is like truly something that like when I think of, like another word I don't have a great relationship with is gratitude. However, it's the only word I can think of to describe how I feel about Honey Badger Nation, EXP as a company, Glenn, as you mentioned earlier, Jason, like that's the only word that comes to my mind. Because it has been so impactful, not just in my life, but in other people's lives that I care about so much. So anytime I can do something that gives back even a little tiny bit, like I want to be involved.
Cool. I appreciate it, brother. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. Make sure you guys connect with Kev, give him lots of love, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, brother. See you.